Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Shelley, and taking the time. Very excited about this, and especially it's a great week to have this conversation, knowing that we have Earth Day coming up on Friday. But of course, for those of us, like I guess most Pac Cup individuals, every day is Earth Day when you're a fan of the ocean. So I guess just to dive right in, I was wondering, could you introduce yourself and maybe introduce Sailors for the Sea as an organization?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Shelley Brown, and I'm the director of Sailors for the Sea. Sailors for the Sea is the leading ocean conservation organization that is uniting sailors and boaters from around the world to restore the health of our oceans. And we have three main programs of how we achieve that. So, one of the first programs is our green boating program, where we're uniting green boaters from around the world to take action on specific issues that will protect our oceans. Our second program, which is probably our most well-known program, is Clean Regattas, which the Pac Cup is participating in. And Clean Regattas is the world's leading sustainability certification for any water-based sailing and boating event. And we provide race organizers with a framework of 20 best practices on how they can effectively protect their oceans and waterways. And best practices include, reducing single-use plastics, protecting the marine environment and wildlife, and implementing innovative clean race technology. And then our final program is called KELP, which is our kids education program. It stands for Kids Environmental Lesson Plans. And we created this program for sailing instructors to use on no wind or rainy days. So instead of plugging in a movie or playing Sailing Jeopardy for the 100th time, these activities are, they use really simple materials that you might find at your club or at a grocery store, or even at home, and they help kids learn about what's happening under their hulls. So it talks about plastic pollution, overfishing, climate change, and just ocean health knowledge. And a lot of them are really fun games that kids like to play and can help explore their local waters.
I love it. I wish that kelp had been around when I was a junior sailor. I think I probably would not have watched the movie Wind as many times. Probably would not be as good as Frisbee as I am now. That is excellent. Well, I know Pac Up as an organization is primarily focused on the Clean Regattas program. Just as a small background, I know we have sought that certification before. And my understanding of the process is we apply for certification prior to the event's beginning. And then once the event happens, we kind of give a self-assessment, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're excited about all the work that you guys have been doing. It takes a village. So it's great to see all the work that you're doing and excited for the upcoming race this year.
Thank you. And I'm very grateful to have kind of picked up the mantle with several others, the Pac Cup Board of Directors, who are quite, I guess, tuned in with what we need to do, kind of just as a sailing community, just like you are, Shelley, for how we can kind of up our game. And one thing that I really like about the Clean Regattas program is that it's kind of like the very great demonstration of the power of a common set of standards that we all can work towards. And it's amazing. I think it's in 50 different countries, at least.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. So Pac Up in the past, we've been certified with the gold event standard, which I believe is just one step down from your highest standard. Yeah, yep. I guess it's a pop quiz to put you on the spot, but can you talk about the difference between certification levels, perhaps like premium to gold? And
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so any event can participate and start at a participant level. So you can do one of the 20 best practices and you are a participant. And I'm sure sometimes it's overwhelming to see all the best practices and be like, how can I achieve all this? But we always say, it takes practice. So just doing one thing, you might already be doing several things. You can get started. And then it slowly goes up the ladder to bronze, silver, gold, and then platinum is our highest level. And we rate all the best practices on their impact and level of how challenging they are. So, eliminating single-use plastic straws is, pretty minimal challenge to do because you're just not going to provide them. But it can have a pretty significant impact too. But, composting also is challenging to implement and is going to have a significant impact. So the best practices are rated differently. But, the more you achieve, the higher level you get.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know you called out a few that are of kind of a note to Pac Cup. I mean, the single-use plastic, single-use straws, definitely looking to eliminate those as we have done in the past. But I know a difficult one for us was making sure that we had water refill stations installed at all points of jumping off and I guess arrival. So no, that's one that's becoming more and more common across the board at the sites where we hold our events. Of course, this is difficult for an event that technically doesn't happen at any particular site, because it's a one-way ocean race. But one thing that we've done new this year, new for this edition of the race, is sourced with several members of our board of directors. We're able to source some tamper-proof seals for reusable containers for emergency water, because it's a common requirement on ocean races to have a standard, of course, as you're aware, for 1 gallon of water per person on board. And it's common that that's kept, on basically the old Alhambra, not to call out a brand in particular, but, these single-use plastic gallons. As you imagine, there's 400 sailors during the Pac Cup race. That's 400 gallons. Yeah. And then they, get oftentimes just consumed on land and thrown away. And of course, that's garbage that we would then bring to Hawaii. So we're looking forward to, we've actually updated the SIs to include the ability for sailors to use the tamper-proof seals on reusable water containers in lieu of the gallons.
And I feel like those things can really catch on with other, events too. And that's what's, I think, so exciting about the Clean Regattas program, is that so many events are coming up with innovative solutions to these challenges, because like you said, you guys have different clubs that you're working with, and that can be challenging in itself, but everybody's coming up with these innovative solutions and can share with the greater sailing community, which is so exciting.
Exactly. Yeah. And it all goes back to having that common core, like the 20 items that you mentioned to work towards. And I love that you mentioned that it's intimidating to look at, because then I was a little intimidated when I read through that. But then the more you think about it, you're like, oh, we are doing some of this, and maybe we're not doing this exactly word for word, but we've taken steps in that direction.
And that's why we tried to broaden it too, that, now we, instead of just saying composting, we're saying like divert from food waste from the landfill. So there's many different ways that you could potentially do that. So you could, give your leftover food to a shelter or something like that. And that's a different way of, disposing of leftover food. So we're just trying to make it inclusive for, different types of events that are happening.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned, even just that's a step almost a boat can do as well. So which kind of brings me to your second program, which is the green boating program, which is, me as a personal, just as an informed sailor, I'm inclined to read more about that. And just wondering, could you speak to maybe just a couple highlights of the green boating program, and when people ask you, how can I be a better green boater, just individually, as a racer on another boat, or as a cruiser, or as a boat owner, what are kind of the top couple tips that you might suggest?
Yeah, definitely. So our Green Boating Initiative, this is our community of boaters. So you don't have to be a racer necessarily. We wanted to expand it to anybody who enjoys being on the water. And what we try to do is provide the tools, resources, and knowledge so that boaters can make eco-smart decisions on the water, and really, look at what they're doing and try to make a positive impact. So we provide to anybody who signs up to be a green boater, we provide a digital copy of our green boating guide that addresses 28 different topics, from proper anchoring techniques to what do you do with your black water, to suggestions on how to provision without single-use plastics. And we try to update that yearly, because there's a lot of innovation happening out there in making sure that we're giving a lot of information, current and updated information. But what we also do with this program is try to alert people when there's opportunities to take action on things that are greater than themselves. So, for example, the plastic pollution crisis can be really overwhelming to think about. And you as an individual can do a lot of things to provision your boat without single-use plastics. But even in that in itself can be challenging, because, we're not always offered the opportunity to buy things without plastic. If you're like trying to provision your boat, you might go to the store and everything is just wrapped in plastic. But we also try to provide opportunities where people can get involved on, policies, or, focus or support companies that are giving plastic-free options. There's sunscreen companies that are not putting their sunscreens in plastic containers. They're in metal tins or glass jars instead. So we try to get that information out, and then tell boaters when there's, something that might be happening in their area. So for example, in California, there's a new there's a bill that's coming out to reduce plastic packaging in anything that's shipped, which is really exciting. And we want the boating community to share their voice on those issues. So we also try to give that side of things. So when you're a green boater, you get that knowledge of like what you can do as an individual, and then how you can support things to make an even bigger impact.
That's exciting, and knowledge is power.
Definitely is. And voters have like such strong voices. They can be we see all the issues on the water, and we can be strong advocates for, protecting the water, though, where we want to recreate and race.
Absolutely. And we also have the unique ability to watch a place over time. We all have our home harbors, and to see the effects. And I know, like, I'm a San Francisco Bay Area native. And so I know, hearing from, generations prior, that, what the Bay looked like 40 years ago versus what it looks like today. And to actually see, California condors return to the area, and all these changes, which it seems glacial at the time, but it's actually, it's truly empowering when you look at it. It all, starts with efforts like this.
Definitely.
And I love that you mentioned the suggestions that Sailors for the Sea puts out to boaters for like which kind of products to look towards. And I'll give a small plug to one of our recent environmental partners who's joined us, Olita Sunscreen. They're a reef safe sunscreen brand.
Great.
So it's definitely a step in the right direction. And speaking of partnering, obviously in addition to Sailors for the Sea and Olita, we also partner with the Marine Mammal Center, International Bird Rescue, among others. And just curious, kind of on the topic of partners, does Sailors for the Sea have international partners or partner organizations of your own?
Yeah, we could not do the work that we do without partners around the world. We're a small team, and that's where we're going to have a huge impact is because of our partners. Like you mentioned, we have clean regattas happening in 50 countries over the world. So we partner with clubs and different sailing organizations all over the world, and really just trying to make a significant impact for our oceans. We also partner with clubs or organizations like the Cruising Club of America or Caribbean Sailing Association, U.S. Sailing, just so we can spread the message and awareness. And I think, a really big part is being aware of the issues and what you can do as an individual. So yeah, we try to partner with as many people as we can just to get that message out there, because we all want to be a part of the greater good and protecting the oceans for generations in the future.
Excellent. Yeah, those are definitely a great way to amplify your message as well, like across abroad. And I think a pretty unified group, I'd imagine. Yep. Yeah, not many dissenting opinions in there.
No.
That's terrific. Awesome. I guess to kind of change tack slightly, I was just curious, of all the places you could take your knowledge and experience, like what kind of personally drew you to Sailors for the Sea?
That's a great question. So I have a science background. I got my PhD in studying human impacts on tiny little microbes, bacteria in coastal ecosystems. And during that time, it was really fascinating to see how humans were impacting our coastal systems. But I thought there was this gap between the science and the public getting that knowledge. And so I really wanted to bridge that gap between, to get that information to the public in a way that they wanted to do something about the problem. So that's what drew me to Sailors for the Sea, because it was working with a group of people, water lovers, who were already seeing the issues and had passion to protect the oceans for, multitude of reasons. And so I really was drawn to this organization because we are, being active, like tailoring our messages to this specific group, and I could see the sailing community make a difference. So it was just an exciting meld from that.
That truly is. It seems like a perfect fit, and definitely a gap, obviously, because we have this whole body of individuals, the scientific community at large, which I'm very fortunate to kind of be a sort of tangential, observer of through my own work. And it's just amazing to see all the work they do that doesn't necessarily always transfer over to what we might call the common person.
Yeah.
So that's why, it's such an amazing space. There's such an amazing bridge, I should say, that you're.
Yeah, an important one too, with all the issues that our planet faces.
Yeah.
And all the information that's out there.
Right, exactly. I know it's amazing. Actually, it's kind of feeding into one of my questions about how can people find out more about Sailors for the Sea, and where would we go to look more, or to find more, because like we keep referencing the information sources. So do you direct people to your website or social media?
Yeah, our website, well, both actually. Our website definitely has all the information that you could find to sign up to become a green boater. You get that green boating guide. You could register your event for Clean Regattas, and then all of our kids' education lesson plans are also there. They're free and downloadable for you to grab. And then our social media, we're always posting things that are up and coming or highlighting events like the Pac Cup and what they're doing. So you can get inspired by ideas of what our sailing community is doing around the world.
Excellent. It's always, I think, good to point us towards social media because so many people spend their time.
Quick information too.
Exactly.
You can only have so many words.
Precisely, yes. Excellent. I think just one other question I'm curious to ask. I always, I think it's or just personal observation, but it's easy for us to kind of get bogged down in the I guess magnitude of some of the problems we face. I think as you've alluded to, and just curious, like over the course of your career, do you have any examples that come to mind of either gradual or maybe perhaps sudden changes that the sailing community has made that has led to a lasting reduction in waste or just kind of shrunk our impact on the oceans over time? Does anything jump out to you?
Yeah, I think, one of the most fascinating things is the gradual, is the awareness, to be honest with you, that has grown significantly because plastic pollution is so, like, if I'm focusing on plastics, it is just so visible on the water. And I think people, especially the boating community, is more aware of, like, plastic is everywhere. Like, you could be sailing in the remote area of the world and you're seeing plastic, and you go to a grocery store, you can't get away from plastic. So I think that awareness and, that they can actually take action on it personally has just been so exciting to see. And I think, particularly in the racing community, there's been a lot of organizations and events that have really stepped up to figure out ways to overcome these challenges at events that are bringing in lots of people. So I think that's been one of the most exciting thing about this, about Sailors for the Sea, is that we're seeing all these people coming up with innovative solutions to these challenges.
That's excellent. I know just from my own observation over time, even things like banding kites, one thing, we used to do that with rubber bands, and now you say that to younger sailors, like, what do you really? like multiple fingers. I'm sorry, it's not funny. Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I know obviously every other sailor was, and now, we use wool yarn, so,
Yep.
Or kites are built with, particular kites can be built with, built-in reusable bands on them, or zippers, or whatever it is. But
yeah, I was just talking to a colleague today, and just even, it's a lot easier and cheaper to, start using more sustainable items. So like solar panels are becoming a lot more affordable. Like just even the technology side of things is been way easier to be able to do some of these things that you weren't able to do, 10 years ago. You have more access to things that are not toxic to the environment because the awareness has only also grown in, industry too, on the impacts on the environment. We didn't know a lot. So I think that's come a long way, which makes it easier to be able to implement these things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and then technology definitely facilitates all of that, and which goes back to like the distribution of information as well.
Exactly.
It's all at our fingertips. Yeah. Well, I think we're set up to do great things over the coming years.
Definitely. Yep. Sailing community is going to be leading. I can feel it.
Exactly. And thank you for being at the forefront of that charge.
Thank you.
We're sincerely appreciative. And I guess in closing, do you have any questions for Pac Cup? Anything that I can take back with me to the board or to our sailing community at large?
I think we're just so excited to be working with you all. I know that it's, being an offshore event, it can be challenging. I think it would be really exciting to see, what do you all see while you're out there? Being able to report back would be really exciting. And then what are some of the challenges that you're facing? I think that's something that we always are interested in, is what challenges have you faced or going to face in trying to implement these sustainability best practices? Because, we sometimes get this information from all the people that we work with, and we might have a solution, or you might have come up with a solution to some of their roadblocks. So,
absolutely. I love that. Thank you all. I'll take those as action items, especially the gathering of images and stories on what we've observed. I know some of our sailors have participated in programs in the past, kind of like spotting and identifying various floating debris, especially following, I think it was 2012, 2013. Yeah, the years immediately following Fukushima. Yeah, definitely many things out there.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But thank you. Yeah, definitely many opportunities for us, our organizations, to cross paths and to work with each other and to kind of build on each other.
Exactly.
To come.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Me too. Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Shelley. I think I'm going to leave off the recording there.